And this podcast is brought to you by the Repost Network. Repost Network. Monetize your SoundCloud content. Sign up today at repostnetwork.com. And by Jeff from Sleep Cheap. Sleep Cheap, the home of the $199 mattress. This is the power of pro wrestling. A podcast by wrestling fans for wrestling fans. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Coming up today, we're discussing which match should close WrestleMania 32, plus our top 5 moments and rapid fire next on the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast. And welcome to the show. This is your host, Robert Red.
I'm Chris Heineken. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of the Power Pro Wrestling. Hey, we got a whole lot to get to. Let's get to it right here, right now.
Yes, for this one, this is going to be a very special kind of WrestleMania edition of the Power Pro Wrestling podcast. I do have a roundtable that's coming up this next podcast, but I figure I would talk a little bit about WrestleMania 32 to kind of get you guys ready for the next podcast. We're going to start with our discussion topic, and our discussion topic for the week, as you heard in the opening of the show, is what match do you think should end WrestleMania 32? Now, traditionally, Cornbread, in WrestleMania's past, you've had the world title match in WrestleMania 32. Now, this year's world title match is actually going to be between Triple H and Roman Reigns for the WWE title. Now, Roman Reigns has not been getting the reception that WWE is hoping for. He's been getting a mixed reaction at best.
Expect it.
So I wanted to get your opinion. Do you think that the Roman Reigns Triple H match should close WrestleMania, or do you think another match should close WrestleMania?
If you have something special planned for the Hell in a Cell match with Shane McMahon and The Undertaker, there'll be a bombshell and a big, hey, this is what's going to be most talked about, then that should close the show. Otherwise, if you're trying to reinstate the importance of the WWE World's Heavyweight Championship, then Triple H Roman Reigns should go last, unless if you have something up your sleeve for that one. That's just my opinion. I'm sticking with it. What do you think?
Well, I mean, traditionally, like I said, I would go normally with the WWE World Heavyweight title. Your world title, like I've said in times past, is supposed to be the most important thing in your company. It's not supposed to be necessarily for control of the company. The world title is supposed to have the most importance of anything that goes on the show. So, I mean, traditionally, I would put the world title match at the end of the show. But being me, do you want to end your show on such a sour note of having a big top baby face getting booed out the building after he wins the WWE title?
Or do you want to end your show with a monster wow surprise that will lead up to your Monday Night Raw? Because to me, I've not told you this off the air, I'm more, with all due respect to WrestleMania, I'm more looking forward to the Raw after WrestleMania, because that lets me know that, hey, if you deliver a good Raw that literally comes off a good WrestleMania, then that's going to set me up to go back and watch Mania, the replay, over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that one, that they do need to do something special to end the show.
Because last year did it.
Yeah.
Last year was an excellent WrestleMania, one of the best I've seen. And then you had a Raw capitalizing off of it and scored a 5.6 in the ratings. So you need to deliver, in my opinion. It could be a flop, it could be either or, but I will agree with your point. The world title match should be last, and you better have something that'll give us the wow moment of the year.
Yeah,
at that event.
Yeah, and it's like you mentioned that WrestleMania 31, I mean, you had the Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns match, and no one wanted to see Brock keep the title because he had not been that great of a champion because he'd barely been there. And then you had Roman Reigns that people didn't like. So, I mean, having the ace up your sleeve and letting Seth Rollins cash in at WrestleMania.
And I predicted that.
Yeah, yes, you did. I have to give you your props on that. So, doing that, I mean, generally a heel taking the title is not the best way to enter WrestleMania, but everyone was excited for Seth Rollins winning the title.
Exactly.
Hey, so, I mean, if you're going to do something special like that to end the show, then obviously I would be okay with the world title match. But a lot of people are saying that the Hell in a Cell should go on last between Shane and Undertaker.
They probably feel something up their sleeve in that one. That's probably why they probably voiced that opinion, because they feel like there's going to be something up their sleeve. But I know we got a whole lot to get to. But please continue.
Yeah. But I mean, I to say Roman Reigns to me, as much as I'm glad that WWE is trying to stick with the plan to make him WWE champion, because I mean, I've been saying this for months. WrestleMania this year has been designed for Roman Reigns to beat Triple H and get back the WWE title. It's to give him his WrestleMania moment he's been wanting for the past probably a couple of years or so.
It's been 2 years.
So, I mean, it's admirable that WWE is kind of sticking to their plan and going with it, but I think they do it stubbornly sometimes, and they don't realize that sometimes you're giving us something we don't want. It's clear that we want Ambrose. We don't necessarily want Roman Reigns. And even if we're a vocal minority, even the people who are being vocal about their displeasure of Roman Reigns, and I feel that will impact the viewership, because if the viewership, the actual crowd, live crowd that's in the arena is booing Roman Reigns, is going to make him seem like less of a star or to other people, because they're like saying, okay, if this guy's getting booed and stuff and he's supposed to be the top babyface, why am I supposed to like him? So I think it could potentially hurt Roman Reigns, and that he's constantly getting booed.
And sometimes it can hurt Dean Ambrose, especially off the performance Monday night, especially when Ambrose is in the main event. And Ambrose is supposed to be the next heir to the throne past Roman Reigns, and this happens. It's almost to the point of, hey, let's see what we can do here. Let's play around with the fish, and let's see if we can try to attempt to deliver a home run like we did last year.
Yes, most definitely. But that's all the time we have for this segment. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back right after this with our top 5 moments of the week, guys. So you definitely don't want to go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back right after this.
Tired of the same uncomfortable mattress? Want to sleep better without breaking the bank? I got good news for you. Go to Sleep Cheap. They have a huge inventory of mattresses at incredible prices. With guaranteed financing with no credit score required, that makes it easy for you to qualify for a brand new mattress. Use the promo code PPWP today and get 30% off. Go see Jeff Toddy at 2801 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's time to get your sleep back. It's time to sleep cheap.
Hey, this is Kevin Lancaster, and you're listening to the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast.
Welcome back to the show. Brace yourselves. It's now time for our top 5. With all the exciting action this week, we'll be counting down our favorite moments from 5 to 1, starting with
number 5.
My number 5 moment goes to Ring of Honor. In this one, Reno Scum versus the Briscoes. Wow. I really did not know what to expect of this new team called Reno Scum. And apparently they've been in Ring of Honor before. I really have to go through my ROH stats just try to find it. But even though the Briscoes did an excellent job, I got to give some props to Reno Scum, this new coming team to Ring of Honor, especially their debut in Las Vegas. Excellent double teamwork. It was wow, very competitive. 8.93 on my scale. That's my number 5. What's yours?
Well, my number 5, you're going to be surprised. It actually comes from Ring of Honor myself, but it's not the tag match. It's actually the opening contest. It is between Cedric Alexander, if I'm correct there, and Ishii for the television title.
Stone Pitbull Wrestling.
So what I loved about this and why it made my top 5 is it was originally scheduled to be BJ Whitmer to get the television title shot against Ishii, but along comes Veda Scott and says, hey, if you'll surrender your television title shot, I'll make it worth your while. We're in Vegas and stuff, and you can have the best week of your life. So
Gamble.
With that, he said, you think BJ Whitmer can be bought? And he said, exactly, BJ Whitmer can be bought.
Check, please.
He basically surrendered his television title and gave it over to Cedric Alexander. Now, I love the match itself, and there were points that I thought Ishii might possibly get beat, and Cedric Alexander was going to become the new television champion. And so it was a good competitive match, so that's why it made my top 5 at number 5. So that was my number 5 moment of the week.
Number 4.
My number 4, I'm sticking with the same program. This time, it's the main event. Young Bucks versus the team that has teamed before in Japan based off one-on-one competition they've had before in the past. Now they're a new team. Unbreakable Michael Elgin and the John Cena of New Japan Pro Wrestling, that being Hiroshi Tanahashi, former IWGP Heavyweight Champ. International warfare is the best way to describe it. Very competitive, awesome main event. 2-pack suplex, even if this is awesome chant, but The fact that Elgin and Tanahashi literally threw a whole lot of stuff back at the Young Bucks, very, very entertaining. But entertaining aside, made for an excellent match. This one made a 10 on my list. Love the match. That's my number 4. What's yours?
Well, my number 4 is actually going to come from SmackDown. And what's coming from SmackDown, it was the last segment of there, and it was the Brock Lesnar, Wyatt family, Dean Ambrose confrontation. What I loved about this was Brock Lesnar being on SmackDown. You don't see that very often. So that's always a good thing. So with that, it kind of made it very special, which is special. And I love the dynamic of having Brock there with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman doing the promo and talking about how Ambrose was crazy and stuff like that. And I love that you had the Wyatt family come and interrupt them. And just when they were about to come in and try to attack Brock Lesnar, you had the Ambrose music hit. Ambrose comes out with a kendo stick, starts beating on Bray Wyatt. In the ring, you have Brock Lesnar's taking on Strowman, and I believe Rowan was there because Harper is out with injury right now.
Rowan.
And with that, you had Brock Lesnar kind of beat them up. You had Ambrose eventually make his way to the ring, get a few good shots in on Brock Lesnar, and from there, Brock Lesnar kind of grabs the kendo stick from him and starts beating Dean Ambrose up. So I kind of like that moment. I felt it was a little bit better than my number 4 moment. And so that's why it made my top 5 at number 4.
Number 3.
My number 3, I'm sticking with Ring of Honor, and for different reasons. It is the World Television Championship match. Alexander versus my boy Stone Pitbull Wrestling. Tomohiro Ishii, the television champion of the world. Wow is all I can say. Maybe it was smart for BJ Whitmer to give up that World Television title match, because if Ishii would have dropped him on his head with that vertical drop brainbuster, no question, BJ Whitmer's career would have came to an end, especially with his recent deals with net problems. Cedric Alexander, great step up, but here's what I have on Ishii. All business, you better kill him to beat him. Wow. And this one had a little bit higher. So guess what? I enjoyed the match. That's my number 3. What's yours?
Well, my number 3 I have is from TNA Impact Wrestling, and it's the main event. It is the gauntlet match that happened between Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, Tyrus, Rockstar Spud. You had Bram in there, Eric Young. You just had a lot of great people in there.
EC3 Spud.
Yeah, EC3 Spuds. I mean, that was...
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of great guys that were in there. So I enjoyed this very much because I loved how it came down to, I believe, was it the last 2 were the Hardys?
Yes, they were.
So with that, I enjoyed, and it made for a great dynamic, and letting Jeff Hardy win was cool. I would have preferred maybe Matt got it or Tyrus or someone else got it, but I'm okay with Jeff Hardy because it makes for a good face versus face dynamic this next week for Drew Galloway. So that's my number 3 moment for the week.
Number 2.
My number 2 moment comes from Monday Night Raw. Technically, this should be my number 1, in all honesty. Because bar none, this was the most watched of any and everything that went down Monday night. Nothing, and believe me, nothing can top what I'm about to say. AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, the very first match of the evening. This should be my number 1, but not. Surprisingly. And I mean surprisingly, this is not my number 1. And you know how avid of a fan I am of AJ Styles. But him and Kevin Owens, magic. Kevin Owens has done it again. How many more awesome matches, especially one-on-one matches, are you going to put Kevin Owens in? We talked about the series with John Cena. We talked about the series with Cesaro, especially him being inside of a full-way main event, which he did excellent in. Now you have him against AJ Styles. I read on an article, some people may have that AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, they both may have found the perfect opponents, each other. That's my number 2. Should have been my number 1. What's yours?
Well, I guess we were thinking alike this week because that was actually my number 2 moment as well. So, I liked it for the very same reasons you liked that, just the dynamic. They have such a great dynamic.
Yes, they do.
it was a great match. It had me on the edge of my seat and excited about it. It was a good moment, not as good as my number one moment is going to be, but still a good dynamic between the two. And for it to go 2 commercial breaks and still going on, it just shows the trust that WWE has in those two guys to perform, to still have a match going and have people go through a commercial break and stay tuned to see what's going to happen in the match.
Would you consider that your match, literally the only match to watch on Monday Night Raw? Would you consider it?
Honestly, to be honest with you, yeah, that was really the only thing that's worth watching from this past Monday Night Raw. And I hate saying that when we have one more week of Raw and SmackDown before we hit the biggest show of the year.
But technically
it's
Raw.
kind of sad. It's kind of sad.
Technically Raw.
But that was kind of my number 2 moment, was the same as yours, and I don't want to be ad nauseum and say the exact same thing, but that was my number 2.
Number 1.
All right, folks. Yes, on my top 5, yes, I do apologize to TNA. I did not have them in my list, even though technically they were a better show than Monday Night Raw, even though Raw only had one good match. So that's literally why TNA got bumped out. Sorry, TNA. But my number 1, Lucha Underground, and is Aztec Warfare for the Lucha Underground Championship. Must watch is all I could say on this one. Because think about it, you have 21.
Yeah, I was about to say, you might want to correct yourself there.
Well, there's a reason why I segue to that. 20 to 21. Someone's trying to take over the temple versus somebody's trying to reclaim his property. And what better way to reclaim your property? Dario Cueto. This had my 2016 Match of the Year candidate. Bar none. You could fit 20, since there were 21 guys in this match, you literally had the possibility of 20 matches on a 1-hour television show. That's insane. It's my number 1. It's my Match of the Year candidate for Lucha Underground. What's yours?
Well, if you listen to this podcast for any length of time, you know normally my number 1 is WWE, because I am a big WWE guy. But honestly, like I just said, Monday Night Raw only had one good match. And as good as Kevin Owens and AJ Styles was, I felt that my number 1 moment, Aztec Warfare 2, totally eclipsed it. I just felt it was a much better thing. And it was what Vince Russo talks about. He talks about continuity. The continuity that's been going on for the last several weeks in the storyline with Phoenix and Mil Muertes and Katrina has just been impeccable. They have kept it going. You've seen this happen, the next week this happens, and there's just great continuity between the two. So we saw last week where when Phoenix won the title, Katrina said Aztec Warfare, which happened this past week. She said, okay, we're having Aztec Warfare, but your title's on the line, kind of like WWE did in the Royal Rumble. And that's kind of my knock against it, is that it almost seems like they're copying WWE in that aspect. And the Aztec Warfare is kind of
payback.
And Aztec Warfare is kind of like a Royal Rumble match, except instead of going over the top rope, it's pinfall or submission. But I just love the dynamic. You had the debut of Rey Mysterio in the temple. You had the return of Dario Cueto in the temple.
Oh, yes.
And bringing his brother in and having Mysterio, the two debuting guys in the temple, to fight for the Lucha Underground title, was just great. And then having Dario's brother, which it was the Monster, Mendoza,
Mendoza. Cueto.
Oh, Cueto. So, I mean, it was a great moment.
But look at what led up to all of that. If you've been watching the vignettes, I hope I got that right? If you've been watching the vignettes that lead all the way up, if you've been watching a couple of weeks of the vignettes, that's what really, really made Aztec Warfare pop a whole lot. So, yeah, we can't argue with that. But we got something big coming up next, and it discusses WrestleMania 2, right?
Yes, coming up next, guys, so you don't want to go anywhere. After this commercial break, we have Rapid Fire, and our Rapid Fire is our WrestleMania 32 prediction, so you don't want to go anywhere. You want to stick with us. Okay, so don't go anywhere, guys. Rapid Fire next.
Tired of the same uncomfortable mattress? Want to sleep better without breaking the bank? I got good news for you. Go to Sleep Cheap. They have a huge inventory of mattresses at incredible prices. With guaranteed financing with no credit score required, that makes it easy for you to qualify for a brand new mattress. Use the promo code PPWP today and get 30% off. Go see Jeff Toddy at 2801 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's time to get your sleep back. It's time to sleep cheap.
Hey, this is John Jones, and you're listening to the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast.
Welcome back to the show. It's now time for our fastest segment of the show, Rapid Fire.
Zoom.
For this edition of Rapid Fire, we will be giving our WrestleMania 32 predictions, starting with... Okay, we're going to start with Paige, Natalya, Brie Bella, and Alicia Fox, which I guess we could call Team Total Divas. And they're going to take on Naomi, Tamina, Lana, and Emma. So who's your pick and why?
Most experience, I'm going to have to go Total Divas on this one. I'm really not truly a fan of technically anyone in this match other than Emma, of course, and Lana for whatever reasons you might want to call it. But Total Divas got the experience. Total Divas all the way.
Well, I can agree that the Total Divas do have the experience, but I do think this is kind of Lana's coming out party. She's been getting more... I guess exposure wrestling wise, and she's been having this issue with Brie Bella and stuff. Brie Bella has kind of revealed that she's going to retire after WrestleMania 32 and the Raw after. So I'm really going to go with this. May be a long shot in the dark, but I'm going to go Naomi, Tamina, Lana, and Emma. Okay, we're going to move on to the Usos versus the Dudleys.
To be honest, this is Usos coming out party here too, as well. All due respect to the previous Manias. All due respect to the previous rivalries, being in the ring with Dudleys is going to help you learn a whole lot. Even though technically I do have the Dudleys winning this match, I won't be surprised if somehow, some way, Usos squeak out the victory. So Usos may win it, even though my pick is Dudleys.
So you're going with the Dudleys on this one?
I'm going with the Dudleys, even though technically Usos may win it.
I'm going to pick the Dudleys too, just for the simple fact they are the more established team from the Usos. I do think the Usos will have a moment somewhere in this match, whether it be during the match or after, or they may pull out the tables and put the Dudleys through a table, and that may be their big WrestleMania moment match. But the Dudleys are more experienced. They've been kind of getting...
They literally have been pushing their WrestleMania envelope since their debut in WWE.
Yeah, so... But I'm going to pick the Dudley Boys on this one just because I feel it's the Dudley Boys are going to win this one. Okay, let's go to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Long title, so who you got and why?
Wow. This one, I really don't know. I'm going to have to go undecided on this one.
Okay.
I cannot truly pick a winner because... You may have probably one or two NXT guys showing up there just to get their WrestleMania moment or whatnot. So I'm undecided. I'm pleading no contest on my part. So who you think? Who you got?
Well, a lot of people are saying Kane, just to give him one last moment because he doesn't have much longer necessarily being with the company. So a lot of people are saying Kane. You could go that way, but then you have Braun Strowman. And a lot of people are saying, no, Braun Strowman, I was talking with the Godfather last night about this, and he was mentioning that Braun Strowman, you don't see him in a lot of matches and stuff like that. Well, you may not see him in a lot of matches, but he is a big guy. WWE likes to push big guys, just like they do with Roman Reigns and stuff like that. So it's even been said that Braun Strowman is a pet project of Vince McMahon's, and he's purposely not let Braun have a lot of matches to let Braun showcase what he can do here in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And you got to realize Braun Strowman is probably a few inches south of 7 foot, so that does kind of almost make him a giant. And being a strong man, he's the perfect guy to win this match. Now, the Godfather says you would see Bray Wyatt before Braun Strowman, but Braun Strowman in a Battle Royal, I definitely could see Braun Strowman winning, although I wouldn't be surprised. Kane would be my sleeper pick on that one.
Next match.
Okay, let's go to, how about the street fight between Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar?
I said this to you off the air, and I wouldn't mind repeat myself ad nauseum here. If it's a weapons match, it will be Ambrose to win. Ambrose may be the one getting the monster fat check at the end of the night, in my opinion. If this was a regular match, no street fight rules needed. Brock Lesnar all the way. No question about it. He's got the experience. He's got the MMA background. He has too many ways to break you down and hurt you. But Ambrose, because of the whole street fight deal and no holds barred, he may be my pick to win just because it's a weapons deal. And when it comes to weapons matches or stipulated matches, with the exception of Hell in a Cell, this is where Brock Lesnar is not at his best. But Lesnar may overpower Ambrose to do it. But I say Ambrose may squeak out the victory and get the big paycheck that night. What do you think?
Before this was announced as a straight fight, I was like, Brock Lesnar is going to beat the dog snot out of Dean Ambrose.
Oh, yeah.
But the closer and closer it gets to Mania, and the more I watch what develops between the two, I'm more inclined to believe that Brock Lesnar is going to lose this match and Dean Ambrose is going to win. And with it being a street fight, and Godfather kind of mentioned this to me while I was talking with him last night, that with everything that's been going on with Dean Ambrose.
Horrible main event Monday night, sorry.
Yeah. But everything that's been going on with Dean Ambrose, all of a sudden just building up, it seems like Dean Ambrose is going to win this. It's week after week. So, I mean, I have to go Dean Ambrose. And what he was saying is that with Brock Lesnar, if you look even last year at WrestleMania 31, they turned it into a triple threat match when Seth Rollins, that we talked about earlier on this podcast, cashing in. It didn't make Brock Lesnar look bad because he lost the match. He didn't get pinned. So, I mean, it being a street fight, it's not going to make Brock Lesnar look bad if he loses because it's a street fight. It's not a normal rules match. So,
but I also think that with the biggest paychecks coming at WrestleMania, not just paychecks for the city, not just paychecks for Jerry Jones, but also paychecks for the monster paychecks for the talent. It's too hard to believe that you cannot pull for Ambrose in this match. Brock may be the one sneaking out, but I say Ambrose may win it just because of stipulations.
Okay, now let's move on to, for control of the Monday Night Raw, Hell in a Cell, Undertaker's career's on the line, Shane McMahon, Taker. Who do you got and why?
If this would have been any other competitor, I would say that competitor wins. I say if Undertaker loses, he would lose because of what Shane and Vince McMahon have up their sleeve and what could be the ultimate shocker that literally sends shockwaves throughout the entire sports world. That being said, I won't be surprised if Taker wins because he has the extended MMA background, even though Shane McMahon has MMA training. There's a big difference between MMA training and MMA background. Total big difference. So I say a wow moment that nobody will see coming will end up in that match. Taker may squeak out the victory in this one.
Now, had you asked me this match before Monday night, I would have picked Shane McMahon hands down was going to beat Taker. As much as I didn't want to hate it, him getting control of the company, it just was the story of the year that Shane's come back and to beat The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell to get control of Monday Night Raw. I'd have said hands down, definitely Undertaker's going to lose to Shane McMahon, which I would have been upset about because I don't feel Shane McMahon should beat him. But what happened this Monday night has got me inclined to believe that Shane McMahon may not beat The Undertaker. When Vince McMahon announced that this would be Undertaker's last WrestleMania if he didn't beat Shane McMahon, that kind of turned the tide. It made me really state my beliefs that Undertaker's going to win this match because I don't think they're going to let Undertaker go out to Shane McMahon. I still think, I should enunciate my words a little bit better, that Undertaker has a few more WrestleManias left in him. If not, to face Sting and maybe John Cena the next couple of WrestleManias or get those matches out the way on the big stage. I don't think Undertaker's going to lose. I don't think they're going to let him go out at Mania. Now, a lot of people suggest that Shane could win and bring Undertaker back since he has control of the company, but I don't see that happening. I don't see Undertaker losing this match. I do think, like you, there will be some interference going down somewhere. But
I think it's going to be a bombshell. I think it's going to be a bombshell. I said it when the match was made. I told you this straight up. I said a bombshell's going to be dropped, and the world won't see it coming.
Yeah. But let's move on.
Next.
Yeah, let's move on to what was supposed to be a tag title match, and I'm thinking it still may or may not be.
I think it is.
I hear it's announced and then not announced, so I'm just going to say it's a tag title match until I'm told otherwise. League of Nations are taking on the New Day, and it's a handicap match. It's the four members of League.
4-on-3.
4-on-3. So who's your pick and why?
Tag title match with Freebird rules apply. League of Nations. all due respect to New Day, they have literally been the only watchable team other than the Dudleys, and all due respect to the Usos, with the weak tag team division that WWE has right now, and they're still weak, with only 3 good teams out of the whole mix, sources are going League of Nations going to pull off what Nexus pulled off back in the day. With the Freebird rule, I say new champs.
Okay. Now, if this is not a tag title match, I could see League of Nations winning at WrestleMania. If it is a tag title match, I think that New Day will keep it, but I think they'll have a rematch on Raw, and League of Nations will beat them for the tag title. So sometime that weekend, WrestleMania weekend, whether it be at WrestleMania or the next night on Raw, League of Nations, and this is my prediction, will walk out with the tag titles, just for the simple fact.
Just during that week.
Yeah, sometime in that period, and whether it be Raw or WrestleMania, League of Nations are going to walk out tag champs. I just feel that. I don't know what combination it will be, but I know League of Nations are going to win the tag titles somewhere.
Well, it's going to be counted for all 4 of them, no matter which combination you throw at them, because now they're going to use the Freebird rule. Doesn't matter which combination it's going to be. All 4 are going to be champs.
Okay, well, let's move to our Divas title match. Charlotte is the defending champion, and she's defending the title in a 3-way against Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. Who do you got and why?
I said if WrestleMania has 2 matches that would steal the show, this would be one of them. If WWE does it properly, this could be the women's title match that literally blows the hood right off the women's division and the Divas division in WWE. This match has the complete possibility if WWE does it right. Sasha Banks, this is really her coming out party. All due respect to Charlotte, completely dominant. A gym freak. Becky Lynch, excellent talent. Same with Sasha Banks. This could be I think this is Banks Mania.
Okay, well, when I was talking with the Godfather about this, and I said this was Sasha Banks coming out party, I got called to the carpet. He wanted a reason. Why is the Sasha Banks coming out party? Can you explain it to the people who don't get it, that Sasha Banks is probably winning the Divas title at WrestleMania? Can you explain it to those people, or that why this is Sasha's coming out party? Because I'm in agreement. Sasha Banks is going to win the Divas title, whether people like it or not. Now, Charlotte has done good as a heel, but she's been champion September.
But look at this.
So it's
but
time
look at the
for a new
swerve.
champion.
Look at the swerve into how Charlotte truly became a heel.
Yeah, but I want to know why is this Sasha Banks coming out party? He's like, what's the reason you say that Sasha Banks coming out party? I want you to explain that for people who don't get it.
Well, let's be real. If you really have not watched any Sasha Banks match, then you're really missing the boat, especially in moments like this. I'll give them to you. Any or all 3 matches that involves Sasha Banks and Bayley. Sasha Banks, Charlotte. Come on. Do I need to say more? This is her time. She's literally been the one stepping up, and the fans literally have been behind Sasha all the way. Enough said. This is Sasha's. She has the in-ring technical skills comparable to Charlotte and comparable to Becky Lynch. No question about it.
Yeah.
She has it.
Yeah.
She's a complete package.
Well, thank you for clearing that up for people who don't get it. And I'm not trying to be mean to my listeners. I'm just saying, I'm trying to explain why. When I say that it is Sasha Banks' moment, it's Sasha Banks' moment. I get that Charlotte is Ric Flair's daughter and she's being a good heel, but it's time for a new champion. It's time for Sasha Banks to win the title. And like they say, there's an old expression. History repeats itself. If you look, after Charlotte had the NXT title, who did she drop it to? Sasha Banks. It's going to happen again. History repeats itself, people.
But I will say this. If Sasha does not win the title at Mania, I say she wins it the next night on Raw.
And that could possibly be what happens. Sasha, like I said with the League of Nations, she's walking out this weekend, that WrestleMania weekend, whether it be on Raw or WrestleMania, she's walking out the Divas title. So we might as well accept that. Next, U.S. title, Ryback and Kalisto, the defending U.S. champion. Who you got and why?
I'm really not a big fan of this match, to be honest with you.
I think you and everybody else, we're scratching our head why this is happening.
But, however, with this being said, I hate the dynamic of, reiterating the fact of big man versus little guy. The reason why I hate that is simply for the fact that if I'm going in if this is a true David and Goliath story, and if you truly got inside the head of David here for just a moment, did David see himself as a small guy? Yes or no?
I guess you wanted me to ask that or answer that. That wasn't rhetorical, right?
No, it wasn't rhetorical. It's a question.
I don't think he saw him as a small guy.
Thank you very much. No said Kalisto wins this match.
This is where I might have to disagree with you. I do think Kalisto, I think, will have a moment in this match, but I mean, it's just a simple fact of like they're trying to push Ryback as this big guy, and like this is a big guy's world, and I'm the big guy, and you don't belong as champion and stuff like that. I think they are probably going to try to give the belt to Ryback to be the U.S. champion,
but he needs to up his game.
I could very well be wrong. I would like to see Kalisto remain U.S. champion. He is an exciting champion. He's not as good as John Cena. But no one's going to be as good as John Cena at this point.
But when it comes to technical skills at the package that he is, I'll put that Rey Mysterio characteristic right back at you. If Mysterio can beat Miz for the title, Kalisto can beat Ryback. Ryback just does not have the technical skills that he really, really needs right now. He'll tire out fast, where Kalisto will not. Endurance, I'm putting Kalisto, period.
Well, a lot of people would call you the carpet and say Ryback's stronger. He should beat him. It's almost like I'm gonna do pop culture. We have Batman versus Superman. A lot of people would say Superman would wipe the floor with Batman, and they just look at it on power alone. And this is what I was talking about with my other cousin last night when we were discussing Batman versus Superman because he was going to watch it. You cannot always look at the power game. In a wrestling match, it's more than just a power game. Just because Ryback is a muscle-bound meathead and he's stronger than Kalisto does not always guarantee that he's going to win the match. If you look at Batman versus Superman in the comic books, Batman, more times than not, has beat Superman, and Batman is not as strong as Superman. So you have to consider other factors when you look at things. You have to consider other variables. There's more than just A. There's B, C, D, E, F, G, and I can go on and on about the variables that it takes. So just because Ryback is bigger does not mean he is better and is going to win this match. But I'm going to still pick Ryback just because I know how WWE works. Let's move on to the Intercontinental title match. It's a ladder match at KO Mania, as Kevin Owens likes to put it. He's defending the title against Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Stardust. I can keep reading the Miz. I can Sin Cara. I can read the names off. Zack Ryder. So who you got and why?
This is Sami Zayn's match to win. I fear that this match will kick off Mania.
Which I'd be okay with that because we had a great Intercontinental title match last year, and it was great.
And Daniel Bryan won. They'll kick the match off with this one. I won't be surprised if KO retains the title, but I will not be surprised if Sami Zayn wins. This could be another shocker right here. Zayn wins the title.
I disagree with you. I think Zayn might eventually win it and become.
I'm just saying it's a shocker.
I think he may eventually. They're going to roll around to a singles match between Zayn and Kevin Owens eventually. Probably in the summer. That's where I see it coming in the next few months. I say Kevin Owens is going to walk out Intercontinental Champion. He's going to keep the title. This is KO Mania. He's going to retain the title.
I mean, you cannot stop. You can't stop him. Ever since he debuted and debuted on pay-per-view against John Cena, you can't stop him.
Okay, well,
next one.
Let's go to the main event for the WWE World Heavyweight title. Roman Reigns, Triple H. Who you got and why?
Reigns will probably pull it out. It'll be his coming out party. That's pretty much it.
Coming out.
But if Reigns can literally use this Monday night and literally make him improve himself better, then I can believe him as a believable champion. Because you got to have two factors in the words of Gordon Soley: intensity and execution, which I feel Triple H has. But this being Roman Reigns, this being a new era, I will say Roman Reigns wins. But there's got to be another match that's got to be mentioned here. But let's stick with this one.
Well, it's not official if you're referring to Styles and Jericho, which, I mean, a lot of people feel that's going to happen. and we can discuss it if you want after we get done with this. But I mean, like I said earlier in the show, this has been, like I said, for months. It's been Reigns' coming out party to get the title back and beat Triple H. When you had him win the big TLC match and then beating up Triple H, he started to get momentum, and then you had Triple H come at the Royal Rumble and win the WWE World Heavyweight title like everyone predicted. And I was just saying, it's just a matter of time. Roman Reigns is going to, at WrestleMania, is going to fight Triple H, beat him for the title. It's predictable. I don't like that Reigns is going to win, but I've learned to accept it.
All right. Let me ask you this question as far as the Shield deal goes for members of the Shield. Who would you believe will have the greatest chance of being champion this year? Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, or Seth Rollins? Who do you believe is the believable champion of all three of those?
Well, I could see that Ambrose is going to win the title probably sometime this year. I don't think he'll be long reigning because you got Seth Rollins coming back, and Seth Rollins was kind of their poster child. I don't think they wanted him to lose the belt until Mania, but he got injured and he had to kind of drop it. So with that, and I could definitely see Seth Rollins or Dean Ambrose. I see both of them winning the title. I don't know if Reigns, how long he's going to hold the belt when he wins it at WrestleMania, but it's going to be interesting to see what plays out.
Of the three guys, the most believable, even though, yes, you will be right. Dean Ambrose will win the title sometime, somehow this year. Yes, Reigns may win the title. But all due respect, due to the fact, and I watch main events on all three of them, the best and the highest percentage of those three individuals of that question I asked that has the better chance of being the most believable champion is Seth Rollins. No question. All due respect to Reigns. Reigns will win at WrestleMania. He'll have his moment. He better be on the lookout. Rollins. Rollins is a much better competitor.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for this show. I'll let you quickly give me your Styles and Jericho prediction if that match happens before we go off the air.
If the match happens, I say Styles wins. But I will say this match could be, along with the ladder match and along with the Divas title match, if done properly, couldn't it be another show stealer for WrestleMania? I hope it happens.
Yeah.
It needs to happen.
Yeah, it'd be good to have AJ Styles at his first WrestleMania to get a good WrestleMania moment and beat Chris Jericho again. It'd be good. So,
but it'll add on to Chris Jericho's legacy too, especially at Mania.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have left in the show. Thank you, Mr. Kornberg, Chris Heineken, for joining me on the show.
But also thank you, our viewers, because without you, we could not.
Well,
this could not be possible
in this case, but yeah.
Yes. It doesn't matter if you view us on YouTube, just looking at one little steel screen, or however you get this podcast. We thank you. Plus, thank you to Jeff at Sleep Cheap, 2801 South Carolina Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Use his code PPWP, get 30% off.
Yeah, and if you need to get a hold of him, if he's not at work that day or at 2801 South Carolina Road, dial on your phone ** Jeff T. You can call him and you can reach him. And if you're in the area, he can be like, hey, this is where I'm at. You can come meet me, and he will give you a great deal. So definitely check him out.
Yes, he will, and the deals are unbelievable. But also, thanks to the Repost Network.
Yes.
I'll let you expound on that. I'm Chris Heineken 1 at Twitter. So keep on with the Repost Network because it's an excellent deal.
Yeah, the Repost Network, I want to thank them. The podcast before last, they actually gave us our highest rating that you and me both did.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so thank you. They allow you to monetize your SoundCloud content. So you can check them out, repostnetwork.com. So.
And SoundCloud, speaking of that, SoundCloud.com /
PPWP.
PPWP, just what to say.
Yeah, so I mean, we're just giving out everything. So,
but that's the way it needs to be because, bottom line, without them and without you, our audience, this show is not possible.
Yes.
Period.
And also, you can check us out on our social media. Like, if you want more information about the show, on Twitter at Robert Red Jr., Instagram, Robert Red Jr., YouTube. I've done some YouTube videos. It's youtube.com /user / the Robert Red if you want more information regarding the podcast. You've already mentioned you're on Twitter. You can support the podcast on Patreon. It's patreon.com / PPWP.
It's a must. Please support.
Yeah, and like you can check out our podcast on iTunes. You can search in the iTunes store, the Power Pro Wrestling Podcast. SoundCloud, it's soundcloud.com / PPWP. And thank you guys once again, like I said, and thank you, Cornbread, for joining me for supporting the show. You can catch us right here next time on the Power Pro Wrestling Podcast. Our next show is actually going to be a roundtable. We're going to expound a little bit more on WrestleMania 32. It's a must listen to. We have some great stuff coming for you next week, so you definitely want to check it out, and we'll see you guys later for the Power Pro Wrestling Podcast.
See ya!